Hey, good evening, everyone, or good afternoon. State Representative Emmanuel Chris Welch here. Thank you for joining me for a very special Sunday edition of my Facebook Live conversations. I have a very distinguished guest here today, the current Cook County Board President. She was first elected in November of 2010 as our president of the county board, and she made history when she did that. She was the first woman elected to that position. Previously to becoming our county board president, she served 5 terms as an alderman in the Chicago City Council, representing Chicago's South Side, the
There we
fourth
go.
ward, the fourth ward. And she's a former school teacher. I love school teachers. Thank you for being a teacher. Champion for working families and prominent defender of affordable housing. I am proud to say that we have visited several churches together and spent time together on Sundays. And we've had several chats on a Sunday morning, including last Sunday where I got to wish her a happy Mother's Day. And so this Sunday I said, let's do it live. Let's welcome the Honorable Cook County Board President, Madam President Toni Preckwinkle. How are you?
Good, Representative. Thank you very much for inviting me.
Oh, thank you for
something I've always been curious about. So if your first name is Emmanuel, how did you get to be Chris?
Well, my full name is Emmanuel Christopher Welch.
Okay. All right, there
and
we go.
my dad is Emmanuel Welch. So he doesn't have a middle name. And so to make it easy, I'm not a junior. Everyone called me Chris.
There we go.
So the real Emmanuel, who's very popular in my district, is my dad.
There
so
you go.
I make sure they know that name.
Okay, very good.
Good to see you. I love the flowers in the background.
Thank you. A Mother's Day present for my daughter.
They are beautiful. She did a great job. I know at one point you were self-quarantining, but you've been busier than ever the last couple of days. How you doing?
I'm well, thank you very much. A member of my staff tested positive for COVID-19, and I hadn't been in his presence for almost 2 weeks. So I spent about 4 days in quarantine just to get through that 2-week period. But I've been, active around. I go into the office pretty much every day. I've got a lot of conference calls, and my communication staff, Nick Shields and folks, have set up a number of events where I need to go and thank people. So,
well, I'm glad Nick does a great job, and I'm glad we were able to set up today's conversation because last night at 23:45, you announced that Cook County is now going to start using the term physical distancing instead of social distancing. And you did it in quite an impressive way. You got quite a wingspan there. Tell us about this physical distancing thing.
Well, this is my communications director, Nick, is a big basketball fan, of course. And that's a classic Michael Jordan pose, right? So, I'm 6 feet tall. And if you put your arms out like that, right, it's your height. So 6 foot wingspan. And, I think it's really important in these times to understand that we need to be physically distant, but we shouldn't be socially distant. It's really important for us, for our mental health and for the well-being of the people we care about, that we stay in touch with our families, with our friends, with our neighbors. Those of us who are well need to be sure that we're going to the store and getting meds or bringing food to those who are sheltering in place because of their complicated health histories or their age or both. So I think physical distancing expresses better what we need to do than social distancing.
So basically, social distancing is, you want people to stay social. You want them to do FaceTime.
Stay in touch. Yeah, please stay in touch.
Yeah.
Right. Right. But physically distant 6 feet, or more.
So you're a supporter of all of these birthday parades, and now with graduation season upon us, ride by and say hi to those graduates?
Yes. Listen, I was talking to Commissioner Bill Lowry, my commissioner, and his daughter just graduated from the University of Southern California. And of course, she's here at home. So she got dressed up at home in her gown and her cap, in front of her laptop, and participated in the graduation. So.
That's a big deal. And
and friends and family drove by and waved.
I have a niece graduating from Proviso West High School in a couple of weeks, and they've got a big virtual graduation ceremony planned. But I'm sure the community, next Sunday, we'll be seeing a lot of social distancing parades to celebrate our graduates, as we should. I hope
Right.
folks are doing that all over the place. I got a
It's
question.
really critical if we're going to contain the epidemic. We can't let down our guard. The shelter-in-place order will be lifted at some point, and we have to wear masks, we have to wash our hands all the time, and we have to maintain physical distance.
Absolutely. At least 6 feet, the wingspan of
6 feet.
Toni Preckwinkle. Any more pictures coming out this week?
Well, I think Nick has more planned, but I'll leave that to him.
I saw that you were recently out with Senator Durbin. You guys were visiting a testing site, I believe, at the Stroger Hospital. How's it going across Cook County with testing and things of that nature?
Well, it's the state that has set up the testing sites, so that's not really my purview, but the health and hospital system is. And, we're really taxed. Half of the beds at Stroger Hospital are now occupied by people with COVID-19. We've got a census. Half. We've got about 250 people in the hospital at the moment, and half of them have COVID-19. So we're really in the thicket of this.
Wow. How is the actual health system holding up with those types of numbers?
Well, this is a real challenge. We got some of the money from the federal government from the CARES Act to support the hospital, but it's a real physical challenge. Not only are half the hospital beds filled with COVID-19 patients, but my last report was that about half of those patients were uninsured. So, and we know that hospital care is expensive, and particularly caring for COVID-19 patients, many of whom need respirators or ventilators, is very expensive as well. So we're trying to track carefully all of our expenses related to treating folks who have been victims of the infection. But it's a very expensive proposition.
Everyone, I'm talking to the Honorable Cook County Board President, Madam President Toni Preckwinkle. Please, if you're watching this, share this interview on your feed. They may not be friends of mine, and the president has a lot of great information that she's going to be sharing here. So let's get this out there and share this feed so that people can understand and appreciate the hard work that our county board president puts in every day. Madam President, the governor recently, with the assistance of the money that came out of the CARES package or other stimulus bills that were passed, he propped up alternate sites like Metro South in Blue Island, Westlake out here in Melrose Park. And I believe we spent about $17 million on Westlake. I don't know the number on Metro South, but they put some money in there, and the facilities look pretty good. We know the disparities that existed before COVID-19, and we see what the numbers look like during the pandemic. What do you think after this pandemic is over? Is there an opportunity for the county to expand healthcare out to south suburbs, west suburbs, like Melrose Park, Maywood area?
Well, I have to be really honest with you, Representative.
You always are.
It's unlikely that we will operate either Westlake or South Suburban. We have a challenge operating the two hospitals that presently are in our umbrella. A lot of our resources go into ambulatory care, into our walk-in clinics around the county, and we'll continue to make investments there. But I think I honestly have to say that it's not in the cards that we're going to pick up these two hospitals. This was a state decision to be sure that we had beds for people who had the disease, who had the flu. But it's not something that a mission that the county can take on at this point.
Understood. I appreciate that. You recently named new leadership at the county health system. A lot of the folks out here know Dr. Terry Mason. Can you tell us about the change in leadership and why that took place?
Well, first of all, Dr. Terry Mason was head of our public health system, public health department.
Public health.
Deborah Carey, who is a chief operating officer, now runs the entire health and hospital system. Dr. Mason was responsible for the Department of Public Health within that system. Now, Dr. Mason is a beloved figure in the African American community, and has done yeoman service in educating us about the chronic diseases that plague our tribe, diabetes, heart disease, asthma, obesity, and all of those contribute to special vulnerability to the disease. Those are all factors that make our community particularly vulnerable. And actually,
absolutely.
African Americans and the Latinx community are just been devastated by the disease. Our percentage of the victims is much higher than our percentage of the population. That's true for both Black folks and brown folks. But what we needed in this crisis is an operations focus. And the two people that are now co-leading the department, Dr. Rachel Rubin and Dr. Kiran Joshi, have been there since 2014. They've got 6 years of experience in leadership positions in the Department of Public Health, and I'm confident in their leadership.
Excellent, excellent. With regard to this COVID-19 crisis, not only have we seen challenges on the health side, we've seen the challenges on the economic side. Small businesses all across the county, in my district, and across the state are suffering. You have done a great job in providing technical assistance to small business owners across the county. One of my local businesses, Shipopin Gourmet Popcorn here in Westchester, actually appeared with you at a press conference.
That's
you
right.
want to share with us all of the work you're doing to help our small businesses during this time?
Sure. Well, first I want to give you a website as reference. It's cookcountyil.gov, that's gov.gov/recovery. And we have a technical assistance network of organizations that will provide help to small businesses that are in need of support. We're working with National Partnership for New Americans, the Illinois Restaurant Association, and the American Immigration Business Coalition. Those entities are working with us to provide information to small business owners, not-for-profits, and independent contractors. And the county itself, in the suburbs, that's many of your constituents, the businesses are eligible for a $20,000 zero-interest 5-year loan if you're a business, and a $10,000 zero-interest 5-year loan if you're an independent contractor who makes less than $100,000 a year. That's a 1099 form to the federal government under your taxes. If you make less than $100,000 on that 1099 form, you're eligible as well. So we have a wide range of services available to our small businesses, our not-for-profits, and our independent contractors. And you can find that information again on cookcountyil.gov, that's gov/recovery.
You're working with some great people on that program. I know Sam Toya from
the Restaurant Association.
And Rebecca Shee is definitely a little warrior for small businesses, works very hard over there at ABIC. After the pandemic, do you expect to see this type of technical assistance still out there and available for the small businesses across the county?
Yes, we have to continue to support our small businesses, especially in the parts of the county that have been most impacted by historical inequities. And that would be the southern and the western suburbs in particular.
Absolutely.
So, let me just say, when we put out a report on Thursday, looking forward, what's our response going to be? And we talked about the importance of using an equity lens in our response. It's really critical that we remember that being fair to everyone is not what you want to do. You want to respond to where the greatest needs are, right?
That's right.
So that's what we have to do. We have to look at this challenge through an equity lens, and particularly through a racial equity lens. And that means that we need to allocate resources to those where the need is greatest, rather than on an equal basis. We have to look at equity, which isn't the same thing.
And I want to applaud you on that, because we get a lot of criticism, and people are afraid to say that. This is about equity, and we need to prop up those that need the assistance more. And I appreciate the work that's been done, because I've been following the small business issue very closely, and the work and the results are showing as a result of helping those who need it the most. So I want to commend you on that.
Well, thank you.
I want to follow up, though, not small businesses, but talk about our local governments, many of them smaller than others. and they are also struggling as a result of COVID-19 crisis. The CARES Act has called for monies to be distributed to local governments. I believe the language was municipalities over $500,000, over 500,000 people or more. And so Cook County has more than 500,000 people. How would that flow to our local municipalities? Have you guys determined that yet?
No, the money that we got, I get 3 weeks ago now, I guess, came in to support COVID-19 related expenses on the healthcare side, on the emergency management side, on the public safety side. However, the resources were not to be used for lost revenue, which is the particular way in which local governments are hampered, are struggling. For the Cook County, 65% of our revenues are dependent on economic activity, and there's no economic activity. I mean, virtually none, right? So we're hurt, and every city, town, or village that depends on sales taxes, or amusement taxes, or hotel and restaurant taxes is going to be impacted. And presently, we can't use that money for lost revenue. So one of the things we're doing, and Senator Durbin has been a real a champion for this, addressing this challenge, is lobby that the federal government money can be used for lost revenue. And that would be a way in which Cook County could support itself better, okay? But we could also help local units of government. And I don't know what's going to happen. The House just passed a $3 trillion bill, which included lost revenue. I don't know what the Senate's going to do.
Yeah, I'm actually going to have a chance to chat with him on Tuesday at 4:45 in this same type of forum. So I'm hoping that he has more of an idea by Tuesday. But we're reading and seeing that it's going to be challenging over on the Senate side. But certainly the state and local governments can use more assistance. That's for sure.
Yes, there's a great need there. And what the President of the United States doesn't seem to understand is if local units of government don't have this kind of support, they'll be laying off police officers and firefighters. School districts will be laying off teachers. I mean, we in the county will be laying off, nurses. I mean, that's the consequence. You have no money. You can't fund your operations. So, right. And only the federal government can run a deficit. At the local level, we have to have balanced budgets. So this is a tremendous challenge, and I hope the Republican Party changes its position on this issue.
The county recently made a big announcement this week too about property taxes. You want to tell us about that? I've been following your press releases, and you guys are busy over there.
Well, fortunately, most of the property tax revenue comes in from escrow accounts at banks. So if you pay your mortgage, you pay a little bit to principal, you pay a lot to interest, and then you pay your property taxes. And you pay it over the course of a year, and then the bank makes 2 submissions to the county to pay your property taxes. So most of the money that comes in from our property taxes comes in from escrow accounts at banks. But those, and it's often our senior citizens who've paid for their homes, those who were heavily impacted by the pandemic and lost revenue, we're allowing them a period of 60 days in which to pay their property taxes without penalties or interest. But the banks are obligated to pay the taxes when they're due, which is October 1st. But the small homeowners, the residential property owners, were giving an opportunity for a little bit of extra time.
And that was actually a question that I had from a couple of people in the local community was, were the banks going to be able to use this as a loophole to hold escrow funds and collect interest off it for an extra 60 days?
We're gonna make it quite clear that this applies only to individuals who've paid for their properties and pay the property taxes out of their pocket, as opposed to the banks, which pay it out of their escrow accounts.
Absolutely. This is a protection for the consumer, not the big banks.
Exactly.
Yeah. And so similarly, then since those who are escrowing their property taxes, then another question that I received from a local trustee was whether or not they would still receive their local shares of property taxes on time. So I got to imagine that as property taxes come in, local governments will still receive dollars that are coming in the door.
Right. So the property taxes are collected twice a year, August 1st and March 1st. So, and the assumption is that you don't spend all the money at once. So we estimate 75, 80% roughly of the money will come in on time by August 1st. It'll be dispersed immediately, as it always is, to local units of government, to local taxing bodies. And the remainder that comes in October 1st will be dispersed to them as well as soon as we have it in hand. You know, Treasurer Pappas has been very good about processing the property tax returns and getting them out to the taxing bodies.
That actually might actually help a lot of the local governments even better, because they'll get some August 1st that'll be trickling in, and then again in October 1st when that deadline has passed. I think it's a great program.
Right now, I just want to be clear: the property taxes are due August 1st. They're collected, and then the treasurer gets them out as quickly as she can. So, yeah.
And if you have the money, pay it. You're not saying,
right. Right.
You know,
no, we're not. This is not a. We're not. As I said, we're not trying to help the big banks. We're trying to protect small homeowners and folks who, you know, who've paid for their properties and then they don't have a mortgage anymore, and then they just pay their taxes out of their pocket.
You know, a lot of people don't know the extent of the duties of the county board president, and you are also in charge of the forest preserves, correct?
Sure enough.
Summer is coming, Madam President, and I know we've been talking about physical distancing here today. What's the plan for? Is there a reopening phase for our forest preserves?
Well, first of all, almost all the forest preserves are open, so you can go hiking on the trails. But our nature centers are not open. Our campgrounds are not open. Our visitor centers are not open. And I don't know, about a dozen sites where we've had folks who unfortunately were not obeying our physical distancing requirements are closed. But we have 300 miles of trails. So there are lots of places for you to go walking, you know, riding your bike. Some people ride horses through the preserves, those who have horses. So the 300 miles of trails are still open. But we've had to close some sites because people were not observing the physical distancing. And we're going to monitor that over the course of the summer. As long as people observe physical distancing, and by the way, that means no picnics, no family reunions, no big barbecues. You know what I mean? I mean, you can go out with your own family, but that's it. We don't want large gatherings in the preserves because it clearly is in violation of the Center for Disease Control advice on how we're going to contain the pandemic. And
That's right.
That is critically important to us, that we contain the pandemic.
Does the forest preserve have swimming pools or water parks at all?
Yes, we do have swimming pools. I'm not sure, frankly, what we'll decide to do about that.
Because right now those are closed, though.
Right. They normally don't open until Memorial Day weekend, which is next weekend. They will not open because the shelter-in-place order has not been lifted. And the governor has said that he does not anticipate that we'll reach our peak of cases in Illinois until mid-June. So I would anticipate that he will extend his shelter-in-place order till the end of June. There may be various businesses that will be allowed to open up, but there will still be aspects, I think, of the shelter-in-place order in force.
Through the end of June.
Through the end of June.
So with the stay-at-home order possibly being extended through the end of June, the Illinois legislature is returning to action for the first time in a couple of months this week. That'll probably be a talk of discussion as the president of the largest county in the state. Any expectations of what you want to see out of us?
Well, we'd be grateful, of course, that you pass the budget, which is your statutory requirement.
I hope we get that done.
Yeah. You know, I'm very grateful to the legislature for the support we've received in the county, particularly through the capital bill. As many of our viewers know, Illinois did not have a capital bill for 10 years. And so we were not investing in infrastructure in the way that we needed to as a state to support economic growth and activity. And I'm very grateful to you and other members of the body for passing that capital bill last year. And we hope to continue. We hope to be able to move ahead with projects that were in that capital bill, although we know that much of it was funded by, I apologize, I left my phone on. Much of it was funded by gas tax. And since people aren't driving and the airlines aren't flying,
Casinos are closed.
Pardon me?
Casinos are closed.
Yeah. We know that revenue will not be what we anticipated, but we're hopeful that you proceed with the capital bill, and we're looking, of course, for investments in not just horizontal highways and roads and bridges, but also vertical investments, and that we can work something out there. So I'd be very grateful to the legislature if you could do that.
Absolutely. I see we have about 5 minutes left. I just have a couple more questions. I really appreciate you taking the time to do this for me today. The U.S. Senate, as we talked about earlier, will likely be taking up the HEROES Act. Have you had a chance to look at what the House passed? Do you like the House version? Do you hope the Senate will pass that version? What's the feelings you're getting in your conversations with Senator Durbin?
Well, Senator Durbin has been a proponent of reimbursing local units of government for lost revenue. And I've had a number of conversations with him about that. It's really critical for our local units of government. It's not just our cities, towns, and villages, as you know, Representative Welch, it's also our school districts. The water reclamation district, all of our mosquito abatement districts, the lighting districts, every local unit of government that's dependent on property tax or sales taxes or whatever is going to see lost revenue. So I'm hopeful that the Republican Party will change its position on this issue, because this is not a red state or a blue state.
It's
question.
not.
It's all across the country. Local units of government are going to be struggling. And as I said, if we don't have this, what you're going to see is layoffs of in the city, police officers, firefighters, streets and sanitation staff. In the county, you're going to see layoff of healthcare personnel and people in our public safety arena, because that's 87% of our budget. So I'm hopeful that the Republican Party will come to its sensus on this issue and allow us to use not just the HEROES Act funds, but the CARES Act funds as well, which were part of stimulus bills 1 through 4 for lost revenue.
Yeah. Now, the county, you work in the county building, which is like half county building, half city hall. Right. You have other agencies like the clerk's office, the recorder's office, and of course the court system. Right. Are those locations open right now, or are they closed? And if they're closed, when do you expect those would open up?
I expect those would open when the governor ends his shelter-in-place order. And we're going to take our lead from the governor on this issue. I understand some of our state offices are opening up as of June 1, but by and large, the county will be observing the governor's stay-at-home order. And let me just say, I think it's really important that we follow the governor's guidelines. Otherwise, we just have chaos in terms of every city, town, or village making their own decisions about when to open up and what economic activity or otherwise activity to allow.
Agreed. I only have about a minute and a half left, and I know the county is enormous. I think it's larger than 33 states, Madam President. But any other initiatives that you're working on right now that you'd like to share with our audience before we leave?
Well, let me call your attention again to the Technical Assistance Network that we have developed with the American Immigration Business Coalition, Rebecca Shee, whom you referred to, the Illinois Restaurant Association, Sam Toya, and the National Partnership for New Americans. And I apologize, I don't know the staff person's name there, but these entities are working with us to provide assistance to small businesses that we know are struggling in this, which is not just a health crisis, but an economic crisis. And you can go to cookcountyil.gov, that's gov, /recovery for information. And we have support for small businesses, not-for-profits, and independent contractors.
And so folks, listen, those folks are doing a great job of providing technical assistance. You want to take advantage of that. The president has put that together, and it is a remarkable program. And I know that because I've heard from the businesses in the 7th district that have taken advantage of it, and you should too. Last question, Madam President, before you go, I gotta assume based on that photo you posted at 23:45 last night that you've been watching The Last Dance, and will you be watching it tonight?
You know, I'm a big fan of Michael Jordan. Clearly, I suppose you could argue the best basketball player who's ever played the game. And I had the privilege of being an alderman in the city of Chicago in the 1990s when so many of those championships were won. So
That's right.
So yeah, this is I think this is special for all of us in Chicago to have a chance to see one of our local sports heroes highlighted on national television.
It's been great. I hate that it's ending tonight. Because what are we going to do next Sunday?
They'll rerun it.
That's right.
You'll be able to catch up.
Thank you, Madam President. This has been great. It's always the fastest half hour of my day. Really appreciate you taking the time to chat with us here this afternoon.
Well, thanks very much. Thanks very much, Welch. I'm grateful to you.
I know how busy you are, so you enjoy the rest of your Sunday. Stay safe, stay home, because we're all saving lives.
Thank you.